25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I know a lot of you were hoping that Congressman Rich Nugent would call in today, and he has called in today. Today is May 5th, 2014, so that you know that you're listening to a live broadcast. May 5th, 2014. Your calls are important. The number is 622-9622. That's the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline. U.S. Representative Richard Nugent in the news in so many different things this morning. And just to give him a heads up as to what the listeners were calling in to want to speak about was number one, John Boehner's announcement on Friday that the House would vote on a select committee to investigate Benghazi. The story we heard about the some Democrats wanting to boycott the Benghazi probe. And then, of course, Mr. Nugent's work to try to end the free ride for lawmakers. I guess that didn't happen, and he can explain that, as well as bringing a VA nursing home project to Marion County. So many things on our listeners' minds this morning, Congressman. Good morning, Congressman Nugent.
Well, good morning, Larry. How are we doing?
Pretty good. And tell me where you are again. You're in Kansas City?
No, right now on Fort Riley.
Fort Riley.
Kansas. Yep, Fort Riley, Kansas.
Okay. Well, all of those things are on your constituents' minds. And do you want to address any of them before we go to the phone?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a number of issues. The one about the VA nursing home that we're really hoping is going to be located in the Ocala vicinity. We've moved everything along, got the money available for it, got Florida put it on a priority list for the VA nursing home. Now it really comes down to our state legislators with the state of VA, because the state VA is the one who makes the final determination.
Okay, and would that be something different than the one in Fort McCoy, or that's?
Oh yeah, no, it would be a VA nursing home.
Okay. I don't see. Maybe I don't understand the difference between the facility in Fort McCoy and what you're proposing. Right. It's something different. Right. Well, I'm sure that our veterans are very happy with that news, especially.
We're hoping that it works out, for Marion County and for all the veterans that live within the 6-county area around Marion County. So.
Okay, you ready to take some calls?
Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right, that's what this is about. This is the only congressman all the years of doing radio, I've never had a congressman coming on a regular basis to address his constituents live in public on the radio. Good morning, you're the first up. You're on the air with Congressman Nugent.
Good morning, Congressman Nugent. It's Sonny.
Good morning, Sonny.
With this thing with all the Benghazi and all that, I cannot comprehend how Boehner hadn't come up and say, we've given the administration enough time to do a thorough self-investigation, and yet they use that time to stifle and hide different aspects to what happened in Benghazi. What I'd like to know is, what was the ambassador doing in Benghazi when he should have been in Tripoli at 9/11, 2012? But anyway, my point being is, this guy is a disaster, and I don't know what's wrong with the Republicans, why they can't get another guy in there to step into his shoes, because it's horrendous what he's been doing. You had an opportunity there when sequestration first came out, and then come December, he caves in and signs on to a $970 billion spending bill, and then this January, he signs up with the so-called $1.3 trillion budget, and we keep throwing billions of dollars all over the world, i.e. Ukraine. What in the God's name is the EU doing besides it? All they do is turn around, gee, what's NATO and the United States going to do? I mean, these things are horrendous, and we have a Speaker of the House that will not step up to the plate. As far as I'm concerned, he steps up to the plate and strikes out continually if he does. I'll hang up and listen to your comments, sir.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I am very discouraged as far as this coming election goes. I'll talk to you and listen.
All right,
you.
thank you. Thank you for the call.
Well, thanks. Sonny's always, so insightful in regards to what's going on in D.C., but, I always try to look to the future here, and, I will agree that, things have really just ground so slowly. But so the good news is that, Boehner has finally recognized the fact that we needed to do a special select committee to investigate Benghazi, because we have absolutely been stonewalled at every turn. It's just the same as what's happened to us with the IRS, and we're going to do the same thing now with the IRS. We're going to hold Lois Lerner. We're going to hold a vote this week, and the same thing with the select committee on Benghazi. Actually, I'm going to handle the bill on the floor for the Lerner issue this week, so as we move forward to impeach her, but also to force the Attorney General to investigate exactly what we want. So this is going to be a heck of a week. I'll just tell you that.
Oh, you got your plate full. Yeah.
So we're looking. I'm looking forward to it, to actually get this thing moving along.
All right. You have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Congressman Nugent.
Good morning, Congressman Nugent.
Good morning.
I'm really kind of. I'm not going to even get into the Benghazi situation, because I think that's flogging a dead horse. But what I will say is this: is that this Congress has passed less bills within the past few years than they did way back during World War II. Now, I don't know whether that's in your opinion, whether that's good or bad. But what I do know is that there is a lot of misinformation that's delivered. And I think one of the things that I enjoyed about the election between John McCain and President Obama was that John McCain really... He played basically by the rules to a certain extent. Now, I'm no Republican, but one of the things that I always appreciated about John McCain was when this lady came up to him talking about Barack Obama was a Muslim and all this stuff, he stopped her and he said, look, he's not. He's a Christian. He's a good man, and I'm not going to even go there. And I think that that's what's lacking in both the House and the Senate nowadays, is that ability to say, look, this is good for the country and this is not good for the country. What I want to see is, I'd like to see you answer some questions in terms of what are you guys going to do about the jobs bills and those types of things. Certainly one of the true things that Sonny said was the ambassador over in Benghazi. That man, he was a different breed of fella. He pretty well did what he wanted to do because he wanted to be among the people. That's not to blame him, and it's not really to blame anybody, because I think we need to be looking at what we can do to make this a better country than just going along with Republican or Democratic bullet points. I think we need to start being honest with people. And I just wanted to get your comment in terms of, of just not, playing that gotcha game with the Republicans and the Democrats. And I want to hear what you guys have planned in terms of getting people back to work. I hope you continue success up there, and all I can say is that you guys really need to be less partisan and more bipartisan. Have a good day.
Thank you. Well, the caller brought up a couple issues, and first of all, I want to address the jobs issue. And, he talked about the number of bills that have been passed out of D.C. But if you look at what's gone on, those in the House, we've passed, and he talked about bipartisanship, we've passed a number of jobs bills that are bipartisan, that had huge numbers. I mean, over 400 votes in favor of particular bills that were bipartisan. only to go over to the Senate and die. That's the reason why there's less bills passed in Congress, was the fact that, the Senate has done absolutely the bare minimum, if that. We forced them into passing a budget a year ago. They're not going to do a budget this year. Last year was the first time they did a budget in 4 or 5 years. The House of Representatives is one half of 1/3 of the government, and so to get stuff moving and to actually get legislation passed, you need both houses, the Senate and the House, to come together and bring up legislation. The Senate can always amend our legislation, send it back to us, but not to bring it up. And the caller had a good point about, we're, creating jobs. Well, don't look to the government to create jobs, but what we are trying to do, and this, like I said, we take strong bipartisan support in supporting small businesses to create more jobs. And it's died on the vine over in the Senate, and that's the disappointing part of all this. As it relates to Benghazi, and all I can tell you is, and Sonny mentioned this about the ambassador. The one thing I've learned in my 3 years up in D.C. is ambassadors really operate with impunity. They can do almost anything they want, whether it's security, waive security, ask for more security. And so that's part of what we're looking at, not to blame the ambassador. I mean, he died. He was doing what he thought was right, and for whatever reasons, we still don't know what the specific reasons were. It was why he would be in the consulate in Benghazi. But, what we're trying to do is we just want to get the information so we don't have this happen again. The last thing we want to do is have 4 Americans killed while serving this country in a diplomatic sense, to be killed. We want to know what happened and why it happened. We want to know exactly the logistics of it all, so you don't repeat that again. And I think that's in the best interest of the American people. Now, the chips fall where they may. Wherever the investigation goes, whatever it uncovers, you can't be ignorant of the fact that mistakes were made. And let's determine what those mistakes were with a real accounting to the American people, so we don't do it again.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat administration. Let's not let that happen again.
Absolutely, yeah. We do have another phone call, Congressman. Good morning. You're on the air with Congressman Rich Nugent.
Good morning, Congressman Nugent. Thank you for all of your comments and your work. I would like to say 4 names in their honor, and that would be Christopher Stevens, Tyrone Woods, Sean Smith, and Glenn Doherty, the 4 men who were tortured, murdered, because they were abandoned in Benghazi.
Right.
And I would think anyone who honors the truth and wants the truth would not block any kind of investigation about anything.
No. Right.
I would think that anyone would welcome and want an investigation to bring out the truth, to bring out the situation. Whether it be to bring justice for the families involved. I can't imagine how these families feel. I thank God that I'm not one in their families to have to know what they went through, and that, unfortunately, our government appears to have abandoned them. And I thank anyone who is pursuing and agreeing with checking into it, as I believe anyone would want done, especially if it concerned anyone in their family.
Absolutely.
I'd also like to mention that, we not only can talk about these things. I mean, you have to do a lot of talking, but we as Americans have the beautiful right and freedom to get out there. And, this May 16th is a big day coming up. And, anyone who wants to be out on the overpass in Ocala, waving our flags and joining in to save America. And I would invite anyone who wants to come out on the overpass by by the mall over there, by Kohl's and
Right.
Petco, and we can do something to exhibit our patriotism and our love of this country. And I thank you for all you do. And thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. And you brought something. I just, you mentioned, the 4 Americans that were killed in Benghazi. Let me also bring attention to, our one living POW that we know about, Bo Bergdahl, Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, who was, captured back in June 30th of 2009. We have him in Afghanistan. We know he's alive, and I just want to make sure that people don't forget that, because it's in our drawdown and our move out of Afghanistan. We should never forget that we still have an American being held captive there. But the caller hit it on the head. In my past life as sheriff, you had investigations into incidents that occurred, and end of the day, sometimes, the information that came out would be embarrassing to the agency because the agency, employees did something wrong. But at the end, it always made us stronger in finding out, what our flaws were, where there was a breakdown in policy or where there was a breakdown in security. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, government is made up of people. All these organizations are made up of people, and sometimes we make mistakes. But if you just ignore it, it doesn't get better.
And I think the people want to know.
One thing I learned as sheriff is, A, that people have a right to know. Secondly, it doesn't get better if you don't address it. And thirdly, and the caller hit it on the head, if it was one of my children, and I have 3 sons that serve in the military, if it was one of my children, I would want to know the answers.
Sure.
Don't whitewash it. Don't cover it up. Just give me the unvarnished truth, and, I can deal with the truth. I can't deal with, when you subterfuge and you don't tell us the truth, or you try to protect us from the truth. Don't do that to me.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what most people are asking. Listen, Larry, I've got to go. I'm here sitting in front of the 1st Lightning, the 1st Battalion, 7th Field Artillery Regiment here in Fort Riley. So I have got to go into the building and meet with the commander and stuff. So,
okay, and I knew you were going to wrap it up early today, Congressman.
Yes.
Well, thank you. If we have some callers, I know we do. So if you want to express your thoughts on the air without Mr. Nugent being there, then you are welcome to be on the air with us. Congressman Nugent, thank you so much for being on with us today.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. Thanks so much. They're directing me to a parking spot.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you for doing
Larry.
this. So let me take the calls. Obviously, Congressman Nugent is not on to respond to your calls, but if you want your voice heard anyway on the air, you are certainly welcome to stay on the line. I will go to the phones and take one at a time, and the first one is on right now. Good morning. Thank you for waiting, and I apologize for not being able to connect you with Congressman Nugent. Are you there? Nobody there. All right. Let me take another one. Good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, okay. Well, since nobody's there, I guess I'll be here. What I find disturbing is the fact that they've had so many hearings on Benghazi, and what's happening is you keep, who determines what is the truth? Do you keep going until something bounces on your side? I think it's the saddest part about that whole thing is how they've been politically using these poor people that died. I think that's the saddest part. The other thing is this, in regards to the partisanship, it's just absolutely, you can't just say something to people just because, you think people want to hear it. For instance, okay, they did all these hearings on Fast and Furious. I follow a lot of Fast and Furious. You can't blame the Fast and Furious investigation. That program started during the Bush administration. Now, what happened was it was not Bush's fault, and it was not Barack Obama's fault. It was discovered during the Barack Obama presidency by our Attorney General. Now, what happened was they beat that to, they just went on and on and on. And when it came out, the real facts were it was a renegade FBI supervisor out west who decided to embark upon this program on his own. He didn't tell anybody. When the thing blew up, then they started to jump ship like rats. When the Attorney General Eric Holder came in and they found out about this, well, what happened? They demoted some guys were resigned. I think the only real blame in that was they didn't go to Congress and say to Congress, all right, they didn't, and I'll say they went to Congress after, but it was long after the fact. But when you want to blame somebody on that whole incident, really, you can't blame anybody but, and you have renegades in all type of agencies. The sheriff department has had them, the police department has had. You always are going to have people that do things to get some brownie points without authorization. Now, it sounds sexy and good to blame one administration on the other, but even though, like I said, it started during the Bush administration, you can't blame Bush. Bush didn't know about it. And you can't blame Barack Obama because it was already an ongoing program for quite a while when he came in. And probably they could have hidden it if the one agent wasn't killed. They probably could have gotten away with not telling anybody. Then when the investigation come down, then they shut it down. After they found out the real truth, it wasn't a nice, sexy political story, so they stopped talking about it. But we have got to be, I like the way and then the old politicians used to be. They played the game, but they were gentlemen and women after hours. They got along, they went out and they socialized, but they didn't just say things to keep people divided. And that's the hurtful thing about this politics in this country now. It's so divisive, and that hurts the country. Thanks, Larry, for listening.
I appreciate that. I'm kind of mixing the Benghazi story with the Fast and Furious story, and I think part of the reason, just according to Boehner, of why he, I guess anybody's guess why he waited, but why he changed his mind was because of that email that came from the White House. So, all right, good morning. Thank you. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to call back, but gosh, I would really hope that people would want the truth, and that's about all I can say, because the truth shall set you free, and if you're truly open and want the truth, then you won't try to go on presenting fiction and cover up and changing the whole story and this, that, and the other thing. And it's really hard to listen to some of the things that are being said. And I think that's all I can say, because it gets so disturbing at a certain point that one just has to shake their head, go on, and do things like be out on the overpass on May 16th if you can't get up to Washington. And thank you very much again.
All right, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. And we definitely want to make sure that we mention that we appreciate Congressman Nugent coming on. It's an interesting job that he has, and it's a fact of his job that he's not always able to get on. And I know that in today's case, he was up against the decision: should he come on and make it short, or just not come on at all? And he chose to be on, which is very good. I mean, considering that he's got a couple of local stories that he's working with, especially the one with the VA nursing home in Marion County, and then of course the larger stories, the committee to once again investigate the Benghazi, and the fact that there are certain, I guess would be all Democrats that are threatening to boycott the whole investigation. And from what I understand, it was a bipartisan effort anyway, as long as everybody stands in line. When Mrs. Clinton said, "What difference does it make anyway?" Well, I think Congressman Nugent just expressed why it makes a difference. Knowing the truth is probably the most important thing to know, especially if you are a family member. But as Americans, I think we all should want to know the truth also. All right, we've got to push forward and take a little break. Fox News is coming up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling in. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. A victory